amazing how fast this... Ahoy there, and welcome to the very first episode of the Let's Get Kraken podcast. If you are a returning viewer from the Dear Friend podcast, welcome. Thank you so much for coming. I'm so glad you decided to join me today. And if you are new, hi, I'm Eden. I'm the owner of Kraken Made, where I sell my handmade treasures such as progress keepers, bags, and I also sell my own designs. You can find me on Instagram as Crafting Kraken Made. You can find my patterns on Lovecrafts and Payhip. All the links are down below in the description. So yeah, welcome to the newest, style. Basically a brand new podcast altogether. Not altogether, it's still me. And we are out in my kitchen, actually. This is, I'll admit it, this is the third time filming this podcast because I've been struggling with light so much. It has been so dark and dreary lately here on Vancouver Island, so I don't get a whole lot of light, and I'm usually working off of the light of my ring light, and I find that it blows out colors a lot when it's just the light. So we're gonna try it out here today. And yeah, so if you don't know, I used to be the Dear Friend podcast, which you'll see on this channel, like there's episodes before this. And I decided to rebrand after a mug that I got when we had moved that says Let's Get Kraken on it, and it's got like these tentacles and one is the handle. Super cool. It inspired me a lot to change towards the same look as that mug, so new episodes will be the Let's Get Kraken podcast now. And the shop has been renamed from Tofino Co to Kraken Made, and yeah, my Instagram has changed as well, but all links are down below to help guide you through that. Today, in my new mug that was such a sweet gift from Jennifer the Driftless Knitter from the Knit Circus Yarns mug, I am drinking a green smoothie out of here. I can't really tip it enough. It's a typical green smoothie. I had my coffee in this already, but I finished it before I started podcasting, and so decided to put some smoothie in there to count towards being healthy today. And yeah, so new background too. This is paper that I had saved from the move. When movers pack up our stuff, they use these giant rectangles of recycled paper. And I thought they looked really cool, and I loved the crinkle texture. So I saved a few to be my new background. And yeah, I think that's all. I have a ton of stuff to show you. Ton of stuff. One finished object, 2 half-finished objects, lots of whips, and some acquisitions. And I have one of my mom's finished objects here that she wanted me to show, and it is so cool. I'm happy to show it off to you all. And yeah, that's a lot of stuff. This type of podcast I will be doing podcasts weekly now instead of every second week, because my knitting mojo has grown a lot from doing the podcast. It really helped with my motivation to finish stuff more and more. I used to next to none finish objects. And now that I'm podcasting, it's so great to have that motivation to finish something to show off here on your podcast. To finish something to show off on the podcast. Okay, so I guess we should get into that now. So I'll stop blabbering. Let's get cracking. So my finished object are my Reuel Socks. I believe the last time I showed these on the podcast, they were one done and then I had just started the other one. So this is my latest pattern. These are the Reuel Socks, and it is a simple sock pattern with seated ribbing that I think it could go with next to any yarn. Something crazy speckled would work well with this texture, or a really pretty tonal would look great. There they are in two. I love these. The yarn I used for this pair is Stitchcraft and Wizardry Watermelon Crush on their House Elf Liberty base. It is so soft and I want to say buttery, like that kind of smooth. It's really nice. They're super comfy. I tend to find when I knit socks for myself, I have very wide feet. Not very wide, but wider than normal feet. So when I'm knitting socks, I tend to have to knit the bigger size because it always gets tight around the ankle part when you're doing the heel, this part right here. But with this ribbing, it has so much stretch to it that it sits on my foot so nicely and I don't get any tightness around my foot. So I love these. This is now available for download if you want to knit your own pair. It is on Lovecraft's Payhip and my website. I'll put the links below. And I did these on size 2.25 millimeter needles, size US 1, I think. I don't know my US sizes as much as I know my millimeter sizes because I'm Canadian. Yeah. So that is my finished object. I love folding hand knit socks. They always look so pretty, all nicely fresh and folded. So my mom's finished object is this beanie by Benjamin Matthews. It is a little bit October beanie. It is a beautiful pattern. He does such amazing hat patterns. They're always wonderful. And here it is. This is Knit Circus Ringmaster's Worsted in the colorway Devil's Doorway, and it is this beautiful mulberry red purple. What's that? I always think of like mulberry when I see this. Kind of matches my lipstick. But it is so pretty and it shows off the texture of this hat really well. It's got some of this, I don't know what this texture is called. I've never seen it before. Anyway. And then it's reverse stockinette all around there to really make that pop. And she knit this with, again, Ringmaster's worsted, so worsted weight yarn on size 5 millimeter US 8s. She's just keeping this in her Knit Circus Yarns bag, which is so cool. Another gift from Jennifer. Love you, Jennifer. Thank you so much. And I got one too for my next project in here. So cool. Okay, so I believe that's all the finished objects. Now we can move on to some half-finished objects here. And they are both same pattern. This is a new design that I'm working on. Alright, let's see. So these are in celebration, honor, I don't know. They are being designed for my latest news. I got engaged, and so I'm getting married to my sweet boyfriend, who I call Cowboy usually on my social medias. And I'm knitting these for us. Okay. Very excited about these. So, I used to call these the interlocking path socks, but I think I'm going to change it because it's a big name. But I also really like the idea of calling these the I do socks. So this design will be coming out in honor of our marriage, and I'm so happy with how these turned out. And I'll show you the yarns in the skeins while I talk about them. So the main color for his sock is David Bowie from Black Cat Custom Yarn, and the camera's over here. The contrast color is an orange from Kate Celine. I've finished one of his, so there are the cables and the little stars in the orange. And there's David Bowie in all its glory. It was an amazing yarn to work with, to see like how it turns out. It's speckled and not really pooled, but the colors just worked up really neatly. And then mine, here's it in the skein. This is Rooster from Enchanted Knits, who isn't dyeing at the moment, but I hope she comes back to dye some more because she's so talented. And the contrast color, I don't seem to have in here, is Rose Gold from Hey Sister Yarn Co, who don't dye anymore, unfortunately. But it worked out so pretty in these cables. Rose gold and cables just go together so well, in my opinion. And the yarn, it did micro striping, and it wasn't even dyed to micro stripe, but it did, and it looks so cool. I love how these turned out together. I did these on size US zeros, 2mm needles, so it is slightly tighter than what you usually knit a sock, but I really love the fabric that these have. I definitely prefer knitting my socks on size 2mm needles. Getting them confused now. Size 2mm needles, because it makes this really nice dense fabric. I don't know if you'd be able to tell. But yeah, super nice fabric, and I hope that that helps with the wear of them. If it's a little bit like tighter and stiffer, that it will help them last a little bit longer. They still need to be blocked, so that I did these on my Addie Crazy Trios, which I'll show you right here. I've got the second one going. I did them both on these needles, and oh, I also did my Reuel Socks with Addie Crazy Trios. I love them. These are probably my new favorite type of needle to use. Really fun. So yeah, it's my latest design going. Hopefully this will come out, I'm hoping July. I will get testers we'll put a call out for testers this week. It is June 15th today, Tuesday, I believe. And yeah, so hopefully by this weekend it will be going into testing, and I'll show you the other works in progress. It's a little tangled at the moment, but I will put this sock on some drawing a blank here. Anyway, I'll do these magic loop. I'm not going to do them on DPNs because of the cable part. It's so much easier doing it magic loop. So here is the other one of his sock. I originally started these doing them 2 at a time, but then I found out that the cable, you can't do them 2 at a time because of the crisscrossing of stitches. It just didn't work. So I separated them to do them 1 at a time, and get my finger out of there. And it is so nice. I love these little pops of color. Yeah, the Progress Keeper is one of mine. This is probably one of the very first Progress Keepers I ever made, and I am working on a remake of this to sell pretty soon. Alright, let's see if I can get this under control. There's a lot of yarn in one bag that I did not take the time to organize before this. But oh well. And then mine, I started right away so that I didn't get second sock syndrome from this. I cast on my Addy Crazy Trios, and it's just got a little cuff going right now. I do the usual 20 rounds for my cuffs, usually on all my socks. If I'm doing this, the Reuel Socks do not have 20 rounds. It's a little different. And the Progress Keeper is an apple that is also mine from my film club that I did for Fantastic Mr. Fox. So it's a little Mr. Bean apple. And yeah, so those are on the go. I found that I prefer to do my socks 1 at a time lately. I don't know really why. I think it's because I like seeing progress a little bit faster. It helps me know that I'm getting work done a little bit faster. So it's really nice to be doing those 1 at a time now. And I'm just keeping this in my Noble Character Crafts bag. This is the perfect bag to hold 2 pairs of socks in. And I've also been keeping like the whole socks in here, and there's still tons of room. It has like this little hook on here to keep stitch markers, and the outside I love. It is like this bandana style, which I love bandanas so much. It's one of my favorite hair accessories. So for my Western loving heart, this is great. And on the inside, it's got probably one of my favorite shades of green. Might be my favorite shade of green. Bright lime green. It's so cool. And then it's a drawstring bag, which is my preferred type of bag, because I find that you don't have to worry about your yarn getting caught in a zipper when it's a drawstring bag. And it is great. Alright, so my next work in progress, I've got a lot of socks, are also socks. And I'm just keeping this in this bag. This used to be, it was supposed to be a makeup bag, but I decided to use it as a project bag. I got it from a craft fair 3 years ago, I think. And I added on this little prophecy sphere pin that my aunt gave me. And it also has this keychain from the Impossible Knot Yarn Shop, which feels like a local yarn shop to me, even though it's miles away. They are in 100 Mile House, BC. I used to live there, but the yarn shop didn't open until maybe a year or so after I moved away, which is sad, but they are so great. And on the back it has the Kitchener stitch and a little stitch gauge. So it is the perfect little sock bag because it has all I need. And in here I am working on my Bluegrass socks. So I found these socks while I was organizing my project bags and decided to pick them up again. I had originally started these doing them 2 at a time on magic loop. Don't know why I stopped in the middle of a row here, but so here's 1, here's 2. This one I've been working on more just so that get the DPNs out of the way. I'm actually liking doing these on DPNs. I haven't knit a pair of socks on DPNs in a while. I'm doing these on size 2.25 millimeter, both, one on magic loop, one with DPNs. And then the yarn is so cool. This is my first time using this yarn. It is Mondim yarn in the color 209, I believe. They don't do colorway names, so I'll just have to put it down here if I'm wrong, but I believe it's 209. And it is a mix of like pink, mint green, black and brown, speckling, and it's created this super cool like striping, and it feels amazing. It is 100% Portuguese wool, and it must be like the type of sheep breed that they have, but it is very soft for 100% wool, and it also has good body to it. I think that's how you'd describe like the twist. It's a very hardy, you can tell it's a hardy yarn. So I'm very interested to see how these wear over the years. And yeah, so the pattern is the Bluegrass Socks by Amy Kate of A Graceful Tangle, who I love. She also has a podcast that is fantastic and is constantly designing amazing patterns. I was lucky enough to test knit these socks, and so when I had finished those, I loved it so much that I decided to cast on another pair right after, and this was that pair. And then they got set aside for a little while, and now they're back. I'm hoping to finish them. Well, I'll probably have one done within the week. But yeah, so super excited about those. Let's just keep that down there. A little sip of smoothie. It looks like the sun is attempting to break through. Hopefully it does. We had a really nice day yesterday. I should have podcasted when the sun was out. That would have been nice. But oh well. All right. Next work in progress. I'll show you my other sock. 2 weekends ago, my cousin came to visit, and she learned how to, she already knew a little bit about knitting, but we taught her a few things on knitting and decided to do a share a pair together of socks. And so we got her started on a sock, and she chose yarns, and they turned out to both be crux fibers. So I'll show them in the balls first. If you don't know what a share repair is, you take 200-gram skeins and you split them into 50 grams, and each person takes 50 grams of each color, and you knit a pair of socks together with it. Some people sell actual share repairs, or you can do it with your own 100-gram skeins of fingering weight. So ours is Oxide and Mint from Crux Fibers. The first sock I'm doing, the mint, is the contrast color for heels, toes, and cuffs, and Oxide will be the main color. So I'm just doing these magic loop on size 2.25 millimeter needles, and it is so soft and smooth. I'm loving this color. It's kind of like a, whoa, mint's getting away from me. It is working well together. I'm so pleased with how they complement each other. And then the main color, I just want to keep knitting because it keeps striping so neatly and evenly. So my next work in progress is a newly started blanket, of all things. When I knit socks, usually I'm left with quite a bit left over for my size of socks, and it's usually too much to be like heels, toes, and cuffs, and too little to do anything more than that. So I decided I was going to start another Cozy Memories blanket, but what I've done is I've doubled the stitches to make the squares bigger. So each square uses about 30 grams of yarn instead of the usual 10 grams. And so I finished one square. This is Stuck Up the Chimney by Flock Fibers. It is so pretty. I used this yarn to knit my first pair of Bluegrass Socks by Amy Kate of the Graceful Tangle. And I've got the next square cast on here. I am doing this on size 2.75 millimeter needles. And it's just, this is my next color. This is Solstice from Wool and Vine Yarns on her Footsie base. And I had used this in the contrast color for my Red Moon sweater, so the moons were in this gray. And it's like silver and dark gray and black, and a little bit of brown speckling in there. Super pretty. So yeah, that's my next square. And I'm just using a Red Moon, which is mine, my own Progress Keeper, as like the middle marker that you mark for doing your decreases. So this is a very simple blanket that I love to take with me when I'm going either on long car rides or going to the beach, something that I don't have to think about at all when I'm out of the house. And it's going to be a slow worked project because that's what usually blankets are. They're a process make, and I'm a very big process knitter. So I really enjoy blankets because there's a lot of process to them, and the end result is going to be so wonderful and full of all the the memories, which is what it's meant to be. It'll probably take years to finish, but that's okay. That's the point. Okay, so my last work in progress is very, very special. This is a shawl that I'm knitting. It is the 2019 Advent Shawl by Molly Klatt of A Homespun House. I had seen my mum knit this in 2019. She had joined in that knit along, and I fell in love with the shawl that she made and knew that I always wanted to knit one of my own. I just didn't have the motivation yet to do it because I'm not much of a shawl maker. I don't tend to wear them a lot, so I can't gain the motivation to make them because I need the right motivation that I'll get use out of it. But I knew that I would wear this shawl a lot, and it is going to be my wedding shawl. So here's my beginnings. Oh my goodness. It's super fluffy because you hold fingering weight and mohair together. Look at that halo. Ooh. It is so fluffy and is going to be so cozy. Really enjoyable. It's not hard at all. I've got a little progress keeper here that's a Lego clone stormtrooper helmet that my brother gave me because I love troopers. They're probably my favorite characters out of the Star Wars universe. And I've got some gummy bears on the sides that my auntie made me. And I'm doing these on size 4mm needle, US 6. This is a 47-inch cord because I'm going to need the room once it gets big enough. Whew. Got mohair flying up my nose. And the yarns, I'll talk about the main color first, the fingering weight that I'm using. This beautiful yarn is Stormy Weather from Tofino Knit Co. on her Surf Singles base, which is 70% superwash merino and 30% silk. It's so soft and smooth and shiny. It's probably even more shiny than what the camera allows to take in. Yeah, but that's sorry, microphone. That's the true color there. And then I have it here for my first skein all wound up. So I'm loving that. And then I'm holding it double with a bunch of mohairs. My plan is that I'm going to change the mohairs, but keep the same yarn, same fingering weight base all the way through. And that is going to make this, the halo of the mohair, fade into each other into some blues. So my starting mohair is this plain cream. I don't know what this is because the ball band has been lost, unfortunately. I'll find it someday. And it will go into this Drops Kid Silk in the color 07. And then into this silk mohair. I don't know how to read that name. It's hard with that kind of lettering. But it is in the color, where are you? There you are. 6050 6050. Go into that. Ooh. And then to finish it all off is this beauty. This is Blue Jean Lady from Rose Hill Yarns. And it is on her lace weight, 70% kid mohair, 30% mulberry silk. So that is the fade that we're going into. How cool is that? This would be such a wonderful shawl because it's going to go very well with my dress and look, but it'll also be super cozy for when it gets chilly. And yeah, I'm very excited to have this. I'm just in the first section right now, in the Falling Snow, which is these eyelets. And it's a bunch of garter. Then I'm going to go into a basket weave sort of look, and then you do garter again with eyelets, and you do the basket weave one more time I'll throw a picture in so that you can see it in its whole. Sorry about the noises, it's my refrigerator easing back into itself. It makes the weirdest noises. Yeah, that is my my wedding shawl, and I'm just keeping this in my ink bag. She does not make bags anymore, unfortunately, but it has this great clear front with polka dots, and I've covered it in pins that I've collected over the years. I drew this one at a fair a few years ago, and it says, "If I lived in the ocean, I'd like to be a mermaid," which is very true. And I won a chicken race, because I did in Fort St. James Historical Site one summer. I used to live there, and it was such a fun place to go to. I traded my furs in Fort St. James, and we've got Get Inked, Industrial Nature Knitting, and that's her pin from her bags. And then I've got a Woolen Homestead pin, who has a great podcast. Hi Tiffany, if you're watching. And this says, "I knit past my bedtime," and this is little cat knitting, and it fits perfectly. I'm interested to see if I need to change to a bigger bag or not, because it's like a weird math equation, because as the shawl gets bigger, the yarn also gets smaller, like the skeins get smaller. So it's like one of those odd math equations where it's like, if Ida knits this many grams and then the yarn decreases by this many grams, and something about moon and stars and trains being involved, will she need a bigger bag? I don't think so. I think it'll fit fine in this bag while I knit it. Okay, so that is all my works in progress. A lot going on, but I'm kind of on this spree that I want to finish stuff as soon as possible. So I've been knitting my butt off for a while now, but it's been a lot of fun. And now just have acquisitions. So my mom got a recent acquisition here from Knit Circus, and this is Breathtaking BFL 100% superwash blue face Leicester wool, and this is one of their modernist sock sets. So these are 2 cakes that are 75 grams each, 153 yards each, in the colorway Headless Horseman. So let's see if I can get this without crinkling too much. There they are in their skeins. It is so gorgeous. Like, that speckling is amazing. And the colors, they will make a beautiful something. I don't know what. But that's hers. So I'm very interested to see what she makes out of that. And that's her acquisition. Could be mine, but I don't know. I won't steal it from her. I have enough yarn already that I will show you. I've got mohair everywhere now. My eyes, in my nose. It gets everywhere. Oh well. Okay. So this acquisition, I've taken it out of the ball band to admire it a couple times now. But this is Dragon Hoard yarn, Mend the Bond Torn by Pride. And it is her Disney Princess clubs. I've gotten in on those. And this one is the Merida sock set. I've gotten, should be turning up any time now. I've bought the Cinderella sock set for June, and then July I got Pocahontas and Aurora. So that will be so much fun to see. But here is Merida, and oh my goodness, how pretty is this? All that blues and greens speckling with some like copper looking speckles in there. I knew when I saw this mood board on her Instagram that I needed to buy it or I would regret it. So I bought it and no regrets. It also comes with this beautiful orange as the contrast color. This is her Lore fingering base, 85% superwash merino and 15% nylon. And I want to knit a pair of socks with this immediately. I don't know what to do with it though. It could be a pair of Reuel Socks, or it could be an I Do socks, because it would look really cool to have the cables in that orange, or an entirely different sock, or maybe a new sock design. Do help me pick, because I am at a loss of what to do. So many ideas for this. So that's my first one. And then a couple weeks ago, we went to help Holly of Tofino Knit Co dye some yarn. She is a very dear family friend of ours that we've known for years, and she's started dyeing yarn, and we had so much fun doing that, helping her dye some new colorways. And she paid us in yarn, so I'm very excited about this. So the first one is Surf Lessons. This is on her High Tide sock base, 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. And it is this black base with pops of blues and whites and creams. It's so cool. It was really fun to dye, to see the method. And so that's the first one. I definitely want to do maybe a pair of socks with these, maybe a vanilla sock, just so that we can see those pops of color out there. The next one, I rewound this by hand, and it's not great, but you can see it. I want to show this. And it's undone because it's really cool how it's been dyed. So we've got a turquoise, and then this is supposed to be like tea. Then we've got coffee with milk, and then espresso shot. And this is her coffee shop colorway on Tough Sock, 80% superwash BFL and 20% nylon, and is so pretty. I definitely want to knit with this very soon because I'm so curious of how this is going to knit up. It could stripe, it could, I don't know, pool very interestingly, or do something I have no idea I would expect. I don't know. So that's the other one. And then this one I dyed myself. So this is my colorway, and I took inspiration from Seattle Seahawks, which is one of my favorite football teams, and she calls this 12th Man in her shop, and it is these speckles of bright green and blue, and then one of the speckles that we did, it separated, because sometimes that happens and you can prevent it, but I wanted to see how it would do, just to see what happens. So what happened was we got these pops of magenta and gray, and then we've got some oranges in here. It is amazing how that worked out. And I was thinking I'm gonna do some night and day socks with these, and this is also Tofino Knit Co. This is the green from her fishing lure series. I don't know what the green is called, I'll put it down here, but it matches perfectly, and that will make a really interesting pair of socks. And that is all of my beautiful acquisitions. Makes me so happy. And I feel so blessed by all of this. And I can't wait to use it. So that is everything. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed all this stuff I had to show you. Hopefully it's not going to be as much of stuff, like it won't be super long podcast episodes once I start doing this weekly. Hopefully, but we shall see. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day, night, or whatever time it is, wherever you are, and I will see you next time. Bye.